Okay, so I wanted to make a very quick little snippet video about Adventure Time Distant Lands, which I only found out about today, which is May 13th, so I'm probably already late to the YouTube party on this one. So I have done a little bit of research here on this, and basically it is a limited series kind of thing through HBO Max, which is their, premium service, or part of their whole thing is a premium service, I suppose. Web exclusive, as far as I can tell, right? And so we're getting 4 1-hour specials. And according to Wikipedia and a few sources, the first one will be focused on BMO, and it's called BMO. That's the one that I saw the trailer for. I don't think the other trailers have been released yet. The second one is called Obsidian. That'll focus on Princess Bubblegum and Marceline. Number 3 is called Wizard City, and that'll focus on Peppermint Butler for some reason. I don't know. The last one is called Together Again, which is about Finn the human and Jake the dog. That's a lot. This is kind of interesting to me, especially in the light of Steven Universe Future, which to me, I haven't looked into the background of how that show came about all that much, but I get the impression that Rebecca Sugar and the team wanted the characters to grow and progress, which I'm totally on board with, and I think that makes sense for the show. That's one of the big themes. But Cartoon Network wanted to separate that from the main show, right? And it came after the movie, so that was the moment of transition. And I think it also signaled to audiences that, like, okay, now the show is going to be a little bit more mature. I think it's interesting that they're bringing Adventure Time back at all after it closed out so strongly on Cartoon Network with that big 2-parter finale, which was excellent. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised that they're bringing it back, because it was a hugely popular property, and as we know, the modern day entertainment industry just loves to, if there's something popular, just keep doing it. Keep making more of that thing, because it'll probably make money just from brand recognition alone. So that part maybe isn't so surprising. What is surprising is that it's all through HBO and not through Cartoon Network. Okay, so as far as I can tell, here's what's going on with the ownership stuff. Warner Media owns a whole bunch of stuff, including Turner, which technically includes Cartoon Network as far as I can see. They also own Warner Brothers, and they own HBO. It's not that Adventure Time was specifically bought out by HBO or something so that they could have it on the service, because I have noticed that all of Adventure Time can be streamed on HBO's streaming services. Instead, they're just saying, we're going to migrate this, and the specials are only going to be on our HBO streaming services, because obviously right now it's very much a game of hungry hippos for the different streaming outlets and media entities, and they all want exclusive content because it's just another reason to bring people over to that platform. It's very similar to what a lot of the video game publishers tend to do with their console stuff. They want console exclusives as much as possible, because that means, okay, if people want to play that game, if there's already an established audience for that property, or if the new game looks really neat and interesting, more people will be tempted to hop onto that platform, hop onto that console just to do that. So similarly, now all the streaming services want exclusive stuff because that builds up audiences over time, and it potentially brings in new audience members who previously had not signed on to that streaming service. Obviously, Disney Plus has been doing this like crazy since before they even opened shop on their streaming service. They have National Geographic now, and that has a bunch of original stuff that's on Disney Plus. Obviously all the Marvel stuff goes straight to Disney Plus, and they're trying to pull it from other streaming services as much as possible so that you can only see it there. It's still very much a streaming service, competition thing that they have decided to only have this as a web exclusive series. I don't know. It's hard to tell whether, I don't know what the demographics are for the user base of HBO Max. For some reason, I associate HBO almost entirely with adult viewers and more mature content, apparently, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe HBO Max doesn't have a ton of younger viewers, and now they're saying, look, we got Adventure Time, you can watch the whole thing, even though you can also watch the whole series on Hulu, but maybe that contract is expiring soon. I don't know. And now, if you want to watch this special stuff, if you're missing the show, especially older viewers, cool, come over here, watch it on our thing only. That's the only place you can get it. I'm going to move on from that. I sort of understand now why it's HBO, because it is still under the same media umbrella, the massive thing, So they've had the rights the whole time. It's no big deal. They just probably had to do a little bit of shuffling around to make sure that it could be an HBO Max exclusive exclusive limited run series kind of thing. It's basically just television specials. I don't think it's even necessarily has to be an interrelated series, but I guess we'll find out. Impressions from watching the trailer for the BMO special. A couple things I wanted to mention. First and foremost, I know I have been talking about The Midnight Gospel somewhat recently. If you'd like to see what I thought about that show, which was co-created by Pendleton Ward, who of course created Adventure Time, I have a couple different videos on that. One of my critiques, or one of my sort of personal disappointments with what the show turned out to be, is just that I was hoping for crazy fun space adventures, and instead we got a podcast with wacky animations alongside it. I do really enjoy crazy sci-fi stuff, especially sort of aimed at younger audiences for whatever reason. I don't think there's a ton of it to begin with, especially when it comes to the recent Star Wars stuff. I don't know if kids like those. I don't anticipate that it's really meant for them, even though Disney's been trying to pull them into that franchise. My goodness, so much to talk about, and I'm sorry for rambling, but a couple other things just about that trailer. It's so easy to throw BMO into any situation because it is essentially immortal, almost. It is only constrained by, the structure itself. I don't know. I think the idea of BMO becoming like a revolutionary leader is hilarious. And I think that the voice actress for BMO, of course, I believe it's Nikki Yang. It is Nikki Yang. All right. Nikki Yang does the voice acting for BMO as well as Lady Rainicorn, and I think she does a bunch of incidental characters too. I think she's great. I think she's very funny, and she makes any dialogue work, regardless of the quality. I don't know. And the story itself that they're hinting at here of this, two warring factions is pretty standard stuff for any sci-fi anything because, it's exploring human topics through non-human entities. I feel like all of that is just to serve as background for BMO to say funny things and to have some neat kind of action sequences. I also don't even know, I haven't been able to find the name of that lead, bunny girl character that we see. She says some things. She seems to be the one teaming up with BMO and leading the way. Neat. I don't know. The voice acting for that character seemed fine, I guess. I actually kind of hated how the trailer was cut. I didn't like the voiceover, the deep voice in a world voiceover kind of, I don't know, it felt wrong. And even the audio levels, I don't know, they bothered me a little bit. So I was more trying to zero in on the actual stuff they were showing, which just seemed like, whoa, wacky sci-fi stuff, which I really appreciate. And I can't wait to see how all that stuff plays out. I do hope the 4 different specials are interrelated, I guess, in some way. I think that would be kind of neat, even though I think all of that story stuff we're going to see is just meant to explore these characters in a more intimate way. And that's maybe the most appealing thing about Distant Lands as a whole is okay, they're very clearly taking these 4 separate, they're focusing on very distinct characters in each one of these specials. I think that's great. I think that's such a huge opportunity to get into some heavier stuff with the characters, and I'm assuming this is taking place well after the events of the Adventure Time series. Probably not too, are they gonna be grown up? Oh, that's a prediction from me. Well, they can't be too grown up because Jeremy Shada is still doing the voice acting for Finn. What else can I see? There was a little bit of information on the Wikipedia article about the talent, about the staff behind the show. And while I don't recognize a lot of the names, Jack Pendarvis was a writer on the show, I believe, on Adventure Time, as I believe was Christina Catucci, I think. I've been trying to look up these folks. It seems that a good number of them, if not all of them, were involved with Adventure Time. I was just a touch worried when I saw that BMO trailer that it wouldn't be a lot of the same team, and I was worried that might have a negative effect on the writing of the show, just because the writing of Adventure Time is very specific, and it is a nice little surprise, especially right now. I think the BMO special is set to release June 25th, which is roughly a month and a half from now. So really not that long to wait, and I don't even know how far they'll be spaced out. Maybe one a week, one every couple weeks, something like that, to keep people interested. Okay, back to the business side, just maybe in closing. Obviously, when a new thing tends to lean more towards a limited series or specials, it often means, okay, they're not hinting at a brand new series or like a spin-off. They're just saying it's just a one-off thing, guys. Like it's gonna be its own thing and then it's gonna stop. Like Over the Garden Wall, limited series. We're not gonna continue it, although who knows at this point, maybe they'll pick it up again because they just need stuff to make. What it does look like to me, I don't think they're completely opposed to the idea of doing a spin-off Adventure Time show or kind of extending the series or those characters or anything like that. I think in the business mind, I think this is focus testing, general audience focus testing. They're going to see how these specials do, and based on that information, maybe make some decisions on whether they should try for more HBO Max exclusive Adventure Time content. Yeah, they're just going to get so much data from how this stuff does, and most importantly, how much it affects or doesn't affect subscriptions to HBO Max. Ultimately, I think it's an experiment. On the artistic side, great. I think it's the perfect excuse to make some really cool stuff and to tell some interesting stories with these characters that we already know and love. That's great. If it ends up being like an epilogue to the Adventure Time series as a whole, that's cool. Maybe they would even end up doing like a neat box set release of Distant Lands. That could be kind of cool. I'd like to have that on my shelf with some nice art that's ludicrously overpriced, something like that could be cool. Gosh, I don't know. I am excited about this. I'm genuinely excited and not that worried about it. Of the episodes that we've seen here, or the specials that we've talked about, I think I'm most excited for Obsidian, the Princess Bubblegum and Marceline episode. I think that could be really neat, especially since it was a bit of a hubbub in the finale when those two characters finally got to smooch and it was, a nice little progressive thing, but also just kind of a nice little end note for their individual character arcs. There it is. I definitely find it interesting, and I think there is a lot to talk about here, especially when the stuff finally comes out. I would absolutely love to talk about it and review it, all of them potentially. So that's about it. If you'd like to hear me talk about other animated shows, I've done a couple videos and I have stuff on a website that talks about animated shows and movies that could be kind of interesting, and other movies and things too. I talk about a whole bunch of stuff. We're gonna stop now and get editing. All right, goodbye.